Good evening. This is my presentation on evaluating assessments, formal, informal, and culturally valid. A mentor values helping a mentee and is willing to expend the effort to provide quality feedback that will enhance the mentee's future performance. Yambi, 2018. What is an assessment? Assessments measure improvements over time. Assessments often motivate students to study. Students want to do well and are often competitive. Teaching methods can be evaluated using assessments. Utilizing assessments allows for students to be ranked by capabilities within the whole group. Types and approaches to assessments. This is also Yamni 2018. With formative, there is feedback versus grading decisions and progression in summative. An informal assessment is paired with an activity, whereas a formal assessment communicates students' abilities to outside stakeholders, such as employers and administrators. Continuous assessment involves increased student and teacher efforts and is a combined strategy to improve a process or program. A final assessment is the culmination of the learning process, the full project or the final event. The steps of a procedure are a process assessment, and the product assessment is the end result of the process. Divergent assessments have many correct answers, such as an essay test, whereas a convergent assessment has one correct answer per question. There are pitfalls with convergent assessments, as they may only evaluate what is easiest to measure, or the problem may be manipulated to fit the tool. McAlpine, 2002. What is an evaluation? Articulating the purpose of the educational system, identifying and collecting relevant information, having ideas that are valuable and useful to students in their lives and professions, analyzing and interpreting information for learners, classroom management and decision-making principles of evaluation. Evaluation should be evolving, varied, involve collaboration, and authentic. What are the differences and the similarities between assessments and evaluations? Assessments convert expectations to results. Did you perform the stated measures? Can you explain what it is to be? Can you logically explain what you know? Can you show how to do the task? Evaluations are more scientific in nature. Validity, accuracy, reliability, analysis, and reporting. Both can occur during or after the performance. Why is assessment important? Assessment shows the knowledge base for the student. What is that knowledge base? What is the performance base? What are the student needs? What has to be taught? What does the performance show? What level of understanding, knowledge, mastery? What approach is most effective? What lesson changes are needed to help the student? The student may become more motivated and start to evaluate themselves. How can they push themselves to do better? What else would they like to learn? Can they articulate this new knowledge? Can they demonstrate new skills? Culturally relevant assessments. Other involvement in certain communities may mean outside stakeholders. I also particularly like the use of conversations in African American language that just flowed from the students. Gibson also suggested to involve parents in rubrics and told of one student who would talk it out as they had done in church and in Sunday school, so they were more at ease presenting. Well-being for everyone. Students who are healthy mentally exhibit positive relationships with teachers. They are able to show a sense of belonging and manage their behavior. They have positive and realistic perceptions of testing. There is a negative impact of student-teacher relationships if those relationships are negative or counterproductive. Well-adjusted students have parental involvement and life satisfaction. Often their schools and parents form a strong partnership. Data on bullying is addressed in an effective manner, and the entire school community is involved. Ineffective assessments. Ineffective assessments often do not include enough critical thinking. One of the best strategies noted by Richard Paul in the early 90s was developing strategies that enable one to apply critical thinking to everyday life is the most critical thinking skill. Is rote memorization a true test of the knowledge of the students? How can we get students to think critically, work well in teams, communicate well, analyze and assess their reasoning, identify strengths and weaknesses in their thinking, identify obstacles to rational thought, deal with egocentrism and sociocentrism, develop strategies that enable one to apply critical thinking to everyday life. As Richard Paul argued, this was the most vital of all. Understand the stages of their own development as a thinker, understand the foundations of ethical reasoning, detect bias and propaganda in national and international news, conceptualize the human mind as an instrument of intellectual work. How can they form active and cooperative learning? Encourage students to learn the art of asking essential questions, scientific thinking, close reading and substantive writing, and grasping the logic of a discipline. Improving school leadership. Leaders have to continuously strive to be at the helm of their schools and be visible leaders within the parameters that they are allowed. They should monitor progress and use data to improve metrics. Their particular school or program should be adapted to the community and local needs. A culture of teamwork and collaboration among teachers should be promoted. If allowed, they should delegate responsibilities. Principals should make every attempt to bond with their teaching teams and support staff. Principals should also themselves be evaluated and assessed. Culturally responsive assessments. Through school improvement, if culturally responsive assessments are utilized, it will be easier to have student and parent buy-in. If schools are in decadence, as noted by Mupa and Shionika in 2015, principals should evaluate and supervise. They could seek out grants and donor funding to the largest possible extent allowed. This in turn will continuously improve their schools. These slides show my references. And now this concludes my presentation, and I thank you very much.